Hello everyone and welcome. Pete Jones from Betfair here, and I'm joined by Tavis Rendell all the way from Philadelphia. And we'll be previewing the upcoming US election and looking at potential betting opportunities. Tavis, it's really good to see you again.
Likewise, Pete. Great to be back. How are you?
Fantastic, mate. I take it's no big surprise to you that Joe Biden has elected Kamala Harris as his running mate. You mentioned all along that she deserved to be favoured. Did she get out to a price where you could entertain backing her, and how did you fare overall in this market?
Overall, fared pretty well. Actually, did not trade any contracts on Kamala Harris much at all throughout the primary, throughout the general election season. I think she was fairly priced start to finish. Probably not a big surprise to me, and probably not a real surprise to your listeners either. Any keen observer of U.S. politics would have probably had her the favorite right the way through. If any of you guys out there caught my column last week, I did have her as the overall favorite. I did think Tammy Duckworth was a value pick at around 19 or 20. Certainly deserved to be among the top 4 or 5 contenders. I did pretty well on the other candidates, trading the peaks and valleys of them all, but really never got involved on Harris either way. I think she was the deserved favorite wire to wire.
Sure. I noticed there were some wild fluctuations on Betfair in the days leading up to the announcement. I've just listed a few here for you, for the viewers. So Susan Rice at one point, I believe it was about 24 hours out from the announcement, she was into odds-on favourite of $1.66. She traded as short as. At the same time, Kamala Harris drifted from 170 as high as $3.20 and then back into odds-on within hours. There were also other longer price candidates that received some support. Karen Bass traded as short as $3.60. The governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, traded as short as $5.90, and also the one that you were keen on, Tammy Duckworth, traded as short as $6.20. So how do you actually explain these market moves? Are these all off the back of some false rumours out there?
False rumors and panic, absolutely. And days like that you just mentioned are what make the vice presidential market such an exciting, one of the most exciting political markets to trade or watch for any observer. All of these candidates had a rise and fall in the final week. Certainly the past 24 hours was the story here on our exchange here in America, just like you mentioned. The final 24 hours experienced wild fluctuations with Susan Rice going as high as 75% likelihood, in which point Kamala Harris obviously fell. The reasons for this could be panic selling, panic buying. Often a lot of times it's panic selling because you'll have traders. And again, this is about a 6-month or more contract that people have held a lot of money in. They're trying to free up excess capital that they've had tied up in this market for a while, usually by selling at a loss. Remember, only one of these contracts can win at the end. So usually it's by people trying to cut their losses.
Sure. So as a trader, how do you take advantage of these wild fluctuations? How do you actually flesh out what's a strong and accurate rumor and what's a great betting opportunity to be opposing that?
Right. This is where you see a lot of parallels to the stock market. It's equivalent to a stock rising 14, 15% on the back of zero news. Happens all the time in today's trading environment. So what you want to be careful with a situation like this, especially when the announcement's imminent. When the Biden campaign announced, when they stated an announcement would be imminent and within a 48, perhaps even a 24-hour period, you don't want to be left holding the bag because someone's going to be losing a lot of money if you leave orders open. So what you want to do is, maybe the first few hours, I would not personally advise getting involved in a situation like that because in markets like this, you can have insider buying, you can have people that are in the know in Washington or that think they're in the know. In the case of Susan Rice, obviously they were wrong. This happened famously in 2004 when the New York Post went as far as stating Kerry picks Gephardt. John Kerry did not pick Gephardt. He ended up picking John Edwards. So false rumors can fly all the way to the news media in the final 24 hours when people are so pressed in the media to get the pick right and be the first to break the story. Same rule applies to traders. You don't want to get out ahead of the market. I would advise waiting a few hours, see what the range of the market, see how far it goes. Remember, you don't have to get in at the exact bottom. You can't time the market. And you don't have to sell at the exact peak. It's impossible to do on a short time horizon like that. So my advice is to exercise. I know it's hard, but exercise patience in the first few hours of a panic like that.
Yeah, it sounds like really, really sound advice there. So since the announcement, the Trump campaign has gone on the attack, which is, I guess, in a way to be expected. He's described Kamala as mean and nasty, and his #1 draft pick, as in who he most wanted Biden to pick. What impact do you see Kamala as having on the overall result of the election?
Overall, I don't see her really changing the trajectory of the race. Most vice presidential candidates don't. She's a safe pick for a candidate like Biden with a huge lead. I think she was chosen basically out of the first rule, do no harm. Second of all, because I think there's probably a feeling within the DNC that she could at least juice the youth vote, youth progressive vote, perhaps increase African American turnout in crucial states such as Pennsylvania, maybe even Georgia, Wisconsin, and perhaps even Michigan. Really put those states away where Democrats are going to need huge turnouts in Philadelphia and Detroit to win on election day. So she could fulfill that criteria. There was all the candidates, as you and I discussed on prior episodes, they all had their strengths and weaknesses. Kamala Harris is a safe pick, fulfills the do no harm criteria for a candidate like Biden. He's not really the type of candidate or a mavericky kind of candidate that would take that kind of risk. So overall, pretty predictable.
Sure. If we look at the Betfair market here for the next president, we can see that Donald Trump's been the big firmer from the last few weeks. He's coming from around 270 into 240. Biden's drifted a little. What do you make of this, and can you see any value in getting involved at the moment?
Right. I'll say just one more thing on the back of your VP choice. You can see that the race is narrowed somewhat. It's actually a fair amount because Trump's come all the way into 2.4. This is not because of Kamala Harris. I know the Trump campaign, Donald Trump himself said, well, she was my number one pick. Well, he also said that about Joe Biden. He got himself impeached for trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. He was not his number one pick. They could have announced Joe Biden's running mate would be Shaquille O'Neal, and Trump would have said it's his number one pick. So that don't be fooled by thinking Kamala Harris has shifted to, if you're an international observer of American politics, vice presidential candidates don't matter that great a deal. So this fall in prices for Biden or for Trump, excuse me, that you're seeing is not because of the vice presidential race. It's a result of the polls. Donald Trump has narrowed the gap, not necessarily as much at the national level, but he is tightening the gap in some crucial swing states that you and I can discuss in a little bit. But he's getting some good polls this week out of Arizona, North Carolina. Also narrowing the gap, I believe, in Pennsylvania in a couple polls. Still time to really make that. And we don't know for sure until we get more polling data on that within the week. But he is catching up little by little in a few key states. And overall, as we've expected this race to tighten. This should come as no surprise. Whether he can continue to close that gap is the big question. As we get through the Democratic and Republican conventions the next 2 weeks, that's when we should really begin to know, has Trump closed the gap and consolidated his deficit and made it up?
Sure. And I guess in a way, going back a few weeks ago, it wasn't an absolute clear-cut certainty that Donald Trump would be the Republican nominee and Biden would be the Democrat nominee as well. Now that they're both into $1, $2, the new certainties to be the nominees, I guess that has to be another factor in the market them becoming a two-horse race.
Sure. I think the only real, they're obviously, they locked up their nominations, no surprises. You'll once in a while, you'll see a rare op-ed that makes its way into one of the major magazines here and political journals saying, why Trump might quit, why Trump might drop out. Not going to happen. The only real wrinkle that I could see, and we discussed this last episode, if Trump really wanted to make a splash and he were desperate to, would be he could replace Mike Pence on the ticket. There's still is speculation about that. I don't see that happening. That's the one wrinkle. I don't think he'll change course because he is beginning to make up a little deficit in the polls. If Trump were still regularly down by 15 or 16 points nationally, you might see him throw a Hail Mary and try to replace Mike Pence on the ticket. But for anyone looking for a long shot out there, that would be the only one left that you could possibly take a look at. Again, only 1 week to have it happen. So Trump is known to drive the media spotlight and try to steal a headline or two, but he's running out of days in which to do it.
Okay, sure. So as for the next president market, you see at the moment you're not too eager to get involved at the moment, but I understand that you have some state selections that you're keen to take the viewers through.